Color me in Nut Mace ice creams. Obtaining a registration of a color mark has legal ambiguity. As you can see from the case Abercrombie, one would choose from a spectrum of marks to represent one's product. Now, trademarks are protected by the Lanham Act, whereas trade dress has been developed by case law. So, as in Abercrombie, it defines trade dress to involve the total image of a product, including size, shape, color, texture, graphics, or even particular sales techniques. Two other cases that comes to mind here is Owens Corning, Fiberglass Corp, and Qualitex. They're both relevant as they confirm that a single color is protectable as a mark if the color has acquired distinctiveness in connection with the relevant goods, as well as acquired secondary meaning in the market. So the purpose of this presentation is to exploit this area, this gray area, by creating that logo Nut Mace ice creams and applying 15 USC section 105 et sec. My costs range from, as you'll see, 3,600 US dollars to 5,700 US dollars, and of course that falls within my budget of 6,000 US dollars. Looking at the Nut Mace logo, the question is asked, is Nut Mace registrable or not? Prima facie, the logo appears to be registrable, but when using color, other features will need to be taken into consideration. Looking at the nutmeg, it's brown and mace is red. The background, green, representing natural organic freshness and foliage, and the two-color word nut mace. Let's look at single color. In Owens Corning, we see that the federal court confirmed that a single color is protectable as a mark, but only if the color does not, primarily serve a useful purpose and has acquired distinctiveness in connection with its relevant goods or services. So on application, Nut Mace must have secondary meaning for registration and show two things. One, evidence of acquired distinctiveness, which would include sales, success, advertising expenditures, and two, a survey demonstrating at least 50% consumer recognition of the source of its color mark. Under the Lanham Act, trademarks are defined and expressly protected by this act. And so when it comes to an action asserting an infringement claim for a registered mark under section 15 USC 1114 or unregistered mark, which would be 15 USC section 1125 subsection A, based on a color trademark registration, the owner of Nut Mace has to show that one, the mark is legally eligible for protection, two, it is a senior user of the mark, and the infringer's use of the mark, which is 3, is likely to create confusion as to source or affiliation. In a nutshell, registered and common law trademarks are enforceable under this particular act. So what about color alone? Well, the Supreme Court has determined that US trademark law permits the use of registration of a single color as its trademark. So let's look at the case of Qualitex, where it registered its green color for the pads, as you can see above, with the PTO. They sued Jacobson for infringement. The district court ruled for Qualitex. The Ninth Circuit reversed, holding that color alone cannot receive protection. So what's the issue here? Can color alone receive trade dress protection? And if so, is secondary meaning necessary to gain protection? Well, the court held that a color could meet the Lanham Act requirements for trademark registration, provided it acquired distinctiveness in the market. So the reasoning behind this is that color may further the purposes of trademark law only as consumers perceive color to be identifying source. So when it comes to registrability of color trademarks, applying Qualitex, Nut Mace color must meet the requirements of a trademark by acting as a symbol, operating as a source identifier, and serving no other function. The color of the brown nutmeg with the red mace on a green background and the two-word nut mace serve as the logo to be trademarked. What about enforcement of color trademarks? In a recent case involving service mark infringement, T-Mobile US Inc. et al. And AIO Wireless LLC, a district court found that T-Mobile's magenta color had acquired secondary meaning within the wireless telecommunications world. The court granted T-Mobile's required for a preliminary injunction against defendants' use of large blocks of swath of Pantone 676C and confusingly similar shades in its advertising, marketing, and store design. As shown by recent case law, a key issue with Mace as a color trademark is the scope of protection afforded by its registration. Let's look at scope of protection. When considering the scope of protection available for the color mark Mace, along with the ability to enforce rights in the mark, it is a must to review the US law in light of 1. Is the protection for single color available? In this case, yes. 2. Is there evidence of secondary meaning required for registration? Yes. Does the functionality of the color mark prevent registration? Yes. And or whether or not registration is required to enforce rights available for protection. In this case, no. Claiming color or not? Well, to claim color as a feature of the trademark, the following options are available. 1. The first option is that the Trademarks Office will need to know what color is a feature of the Mace mark. Customers will identify the business due to the particular colors used for its trademark. For example, the parts that are distinctive are the green background and the brown and red in Mace, as they are memorable. By claiming color as a feature of the trademark, this will prevent imitations of the mark that may have a similar design but the same color. This will prevent one from using a green background with the same color text. The second option is not to claim color as a trademark. This would protect the actual design of the logo Mace, irrespective of its color. However, it would not prevent competitors from using a green background with brown and red text, as it would be more difficult to prove confusing to customers. The third option would be to protect the colors and shape or design of the logo. And so to do this, two separate trademark applications would need to be filed. One, by claiming color as a feature of the first mark, and 2, by not claiming it as the feature of the second mark. Usually, color trademarks, as you will see, are easier to register, but this may limit the scope of protection of the design because Mace competitors would get away with minor variations of its design as long as they use different colors. However, on the other hand, black and white logos, for example, they give a stronger protection for the shape, but a competitor can get away with imitating the brand's colors if they use a different design. Decisions. One way to help choose which option works best is to carry out a customer survey, asking customers how they differentiated between Mace brand and other competitors, as provided in Owens Corning. Based on the outcome of more than 50%, customers identified the logo by the green background and color of the text used. As a result, registering the trademark and using color as a feature would be the preferred option. So in conclusion, registration of a color mark is surrounded by legal ambiguity. The above cases presented mixed results, causing legal uncertainty to be now high. After all, trademark rights are dynamic. They can shrink or grow over time, depending on the market conditions.